then hit sometimes when I start talking and then I forget those little small things. So welcome everyone to this preparatory call. I was just saying, is everyone hearing me okay? I'm gonna go around and just mute everyone for now so the sound is a little bit more clear and then obviously throughout. So welcome to this preparatory call. Today is really a practical day. It's a day that we can kind of gather and make sure that we start the wave of energy, the momentum in a well-organized way. And also to look at a few of the things that inevitably will come up with as questions. We were just talking a little bit about caffeine, but I'll get there toward the end of the presentation. I would also love to acknowledge that I know English is not your mother tongue. So just as we did in Greece, if at any time I start going too fast, there's a lot that I'd love to say today. But if I'm going too fast or there's something that you didn't understand well, please let me know so that your mind isn't trying to catch up while I'm just continuing to drive the train. And for today, I have a PowerPoint presentation, just some visuals, and I will send you the PDF version of the PowerPoint. So if there's anything that you'd like to refer back to, you'll also have the slides. Okay, are we ready? Yes, I was about to say, Iselin, in like true wonderful yogic style, is everyone caffeinated? Because in about a week we're not going to be. Okay, here we go. Oh, let me make sure that my presentation is not open. I've just said goodbye to a teacher training group and okay, here we go again. We're gonna try. And I've just cleaned the whole shala again. It's one of my favorite things to do. I know that sounds funny, but I really love the transition. And so, in the spirit of cleaning and clearing, here we go. A practical look at the 30-day holistic reset. We're an intimate group. I will leave questions at the end. I mean, leave time for questions at the end. But again, same as the language thing, if something comes up in your mind and it's hard for you to keep concentrating because you need that question answered, please feel free to unmute yourself and just say, hey, I would love this answered before we move on so that everyone feels really set and secure and organized. So, where I really love to start with every group that I lead through this experience is to remind us. And I know a couple of you may have seen the Instagram post that I did yesterday, but I feel like a lot of wellness things, including essential oils and herbal medicine, even yoga, we know, um, right down to a detox program or a cleanse program or a reset program. I feel like we often think of them as new things, but actually, the importance of taking time throughout the year to let our human body physiology catch up and detox, that type of ritual has been in history for thousands of years. And it's really neat. I mean, we're kind of a group of yogis right now, so I can feel like I can use a slightly different way to describe things because you're coming in with a different kind of inherent and foundational intelligence from your beautiful teacher, Eva, and maybe you also have other teachers. And I know, Eva, your teaching strategy is so comprehensive, so it makes me feel more confident to talk about also the spiritual and historical side of things. But this isn't something new, and it's really neat to think about that even thousands of years ago, when we didn't have microscopes and the different various ways that we now study the human body and the human physiology from observation and clinical observation and also sensation, there was an innate knowing that our body, the way that it functions, because it's so complex, requires moments in time where either herbally or through fasting or through changing the diet, there are all sorts of rituals throughout history that it's really necessary to give the body a little extra support in detoxing. One of the reasons for this is that the byproducts of our very own cellular metabolism are toxic substances that need to be cleared. And of course, the human body is constructed in what I think is an incredibly miraculous way. So we have our liver, we have the kidneys, we have the lungs, right? Even through respiration, our system is built to clear those things. And because we're living in a world that no longer lives in harmony with nature, I think that's one of the foundational reasons our bodies are being asked to work harder. And that's, if you try to even follow a relatively healthy lifestyle. But most of us, because of the demands of work or sleep or, varying different things, the necessity for doing something like this occasionally, I would say, is even greater. And so it isn't really to determine, like, is this a good thing or a bad thing? It's definitely a good thing, but it's really to determine how can we approach it in a way and with an intelligence that really addresses what some of our more modern challenges are as far as wellness and healing and health. So why do we do this? Pretty much everything that I just said. Our cellular metabolism needs to be cleared from the body under the demands of modern life. We have various different things that easily get thrown out of harmony, right down to if your nervous system is dysregulated or you stay in fight or flight too much, the cellular metabolism that happens to sort of balance that creates more toxins and requires more assistance to get out of the body. So just our body's magical approach to keeping us alive, right? We're really built to survive. So your body is always going to adjust to the stressors that it's interacting with. And for most of us, because again, we're not really living so in harmony with how we're built, and that is really just in harmony with natural rhythms, with the seasons, with when food grows seasonally, so many different aspects. That is what our body is built to interact with. We have a little bit more to contend with. And then on top of that, as most of us know, again, try as we might as yogis, as aspirants to really live a holistic life, most of us live in buildings that aren't created from natural materials. We're using the air conditioning, we're using the heater, where we are adjusting our environment in a lot of ways that isn't particularly natural. And also just because of the way that life is, there are a lot of toxic influences that come to us in the water, in the air. And so on top of just our body's own functions that we do need to detox from, we are having what we call sort of an extreme toxic load because of the world we're interacting with. This is not to make our world sound scary or bad in any way. It really is just to bring an awareness of just how important doing this every once in a while is. And everyone who will be participating in this group and every individual who comes into all of my groups is coming in for a different reason. And you'll notice that in the email I sent you, I invited you to take some time before we begin taking the supplements on June 2nd and bring an awareness to why you're coming into this experience for you as an individual, and a little bit of thoughtfulness around, how that feels, what it looks like, how it shows up in your body, how it shows up in your life, how it affects maybe how you are living your life, and then also taking some time to think about what that might look like when it's better. And for some of you, it might be very physical. For some of you, it might be energetic. For some of you, it might be spiritual. And of course, we do start on a very physical level, because if the capsule isn't feeling good, it's really difficult to access those other layers of our existence, right? The emotions, the spirit, the energy, because everything is really related. But really do take some time in the next 10 days or so before we begin to look at that inquiry and to give yourself the opportunity to enter with really clear intentions. It can make a big difference in feeling successful in the endeavor. So, where we begin, as I just alluded to, just like in the tradition of Hatha Yoga, we really begin with the physical. Because in life, we know that our body is kind of the most undeniable part of our experience. And the physical body and the organs and the tissues and the lymph and the blood, right? All of it is continuously helping us to do the life that our spirit is feeling inspired to do. And when the capsule doesn't feel good, everything else also ends up not feeling that good. So we start with the physical, and although in the program we will start with a discussion about toxicity and toxins and everything that I just mentioned about the sort of why behind we would do a detox program, ultimately, also from thousands of years ago, we know that the foundation of our well-being is really reliant upon the health of the digestive system. And so here on the left side of the screen, you see one version of like a wellness or health pyramid. And the very first tier, the largest tier, is nutrition and digestion. And on the right side, you'll see the traditional Chinese medicine. There is a school of thought called the Earth School. And in the earth element for traditional Chinese medicine are the paired organs of the spleen and stomach. And in Chinese medicine, this is the heart of our digestion. These two organs in my tradition govern all of the digestive processes. And it's really neat to see that in the modern day, we recognize the importance of nutrition and digestion as the foundation of our well-being. But also, again, thousands of years ago, it was recognized, and the Earth School says, no matter what state of disharmony someone is in, treat the digestive system because it's always involved. And it's really neat because our modern science now, with more intricate looks into the microbiome, and we're going to talk a lot about that throughout the 30 days as well, is showing us just how relevant it is. But we've always known. And why is that? Well, your body, like I said, is built to do miraculous things. Our body is built to keep us alive and thriving. But if we don't have the right nutrients to do all of the functions that your body knows how to do, nothing works well, even getting rid of toxins. And interestingly, when we have toxic overload, it affects the digestive system. But also, when our digestive system is not healthy or when we're not getting the right component of nutrients and minerals and micronutrients, the body can't do what it's meant to do. What we're kind of confronting, and again, try not to look at this list and like take a step back or be offended in any way. But when you really look at the experience of human beings right now, we're starting to see sort of, I would say, a little bit of a scary trend. And that scary trend has a shared origin of people going, like, are you okay? No, but it's okay. Are you feeling okay? Not really, but I can keep going. You know what I mean? Have you confronted that either in yourself or you see someone, right? The demands of life are really asking us to just sort of like brush it off and go. But what's happening is that we're missing all of the important whispers of the body telling us that, in fact, something is a little off balance. And when we don't listen to the whispers become a loud voice. And when we don't listen to that loud voice, the loud voice becomes a shout. And when we don't listen to the shout, what life looks like is either ourselves or everyone that we know has at least one of the things on this list, whether it's hormonal imbalances or just bloating, you don't feel like your digestive system is working well, you're not sleeping well, you're having a difficult time navigating your emotional state of being, right? So many things. And what this all is that many of our states of dis-ease are the body's normal response to very abnormal circumstances. And here is where we get into the meat of what we're really doing. So I write dis-ease purposefully this way because I feel like also in our modern world, it's like the minute you say disease, it's a bad thing, right? Oh, I have a disease, it's bad. And we start even the, right, like the physical, if you said that to yourself, you find your physical body kind of changes in energy and maybe even how you're sitting. But if we keep an awareness that it is dis-ease or disharmony, we can stay in conversation with the parts that might be out of balance. Does that make sense to everyone? So, again, in the spirit of detox and kind of clearing away and letting our body find a better normal and a more harmonious normal, it's nice also to look at how we are describing things and how even that is somewhat of a disservice to the fact that we really want to feel well. And so, what does this mean? This means that, again, our body is built to survive. Very few times is the body doing something that it's not meant to do. But because, again, that list on the previous page, we know that there are a lot of people suffering from things that are now common but not normal, right? Common doesn't mean normal. Just because a lot of people are having strong perimenopausal and menopausal transitions doesn't mean it's normal. It's not normal at all. But what's happening is the body is doing exactly what it's built to do, but the circumstances that we are putting it in are very abnormal. And so a lot of the triggers of the immune system and the digestive system and the inflammatory response can't settle down because the triggers, the thing that made it start in the first place, are still all around us. And so that's what we're going to also dig into week by week, slowly but surely across the course of the 30 days with each Zoom, is really looking more deeply into each of these topics from a physical level all the way to the spiritual level. So what is one of the common circumstances or abnormal circumstances, common and abnormal? So here's someone putting gas in their car. How many of you drive a car or a moped or any kind of like motorized vehicle that you put gas in? Or you have rental car? Anyone? Okay. So you know that when you go to the gas station, you put gas in your car because your car will run with gas. We also run on particular types of fuels. The human body is comprised of the exact same elements as nature. But what's happening in our world right now is the same thing that would happen if instead of gasoline going through this pump right here, water went into your gas tank. And if you put water into your gas tank, right, which is fine, a fine substance, but it doesn't have the things that your car needs to run, your car would break down. It probably would never run again. Maybe I'm not sure how far you would get on the fumes that maybe were underneath the water, but it wouldn't go. And we too, because of our food sourcing, because of the demands of life, again, I know that you are a very conscientious community, so it's just to capture the essence and the idea of it. But who of you, just for fun, has ever eaten processed food? Like maybe you're running through the airport, maybe you're running through, all of us have, right? Because well, like we have to continue participating in life, but processed food is like putting water in your gas tank. And little by little, what's happening to our bodies is we are somewhat depleted. And in addition to not getting the nutrition that we really need, we have a lot of interactions with things, again, very common and normal things that are creating even deeper nutrient deficiencies in the body. So NSAIDs are things like ibuprofen, so anti-inflammatories. Does anyone know? I don't know if you want to, usually I would have you type in the chat, but How many think that it's possible that all of these things, oral contraceptives, antidepressants, antibiotics, proton pump inhibitors, or for acid reflux, that type of medicine, how many of you think that at least one or all of these can cause nutrient deficiencies in the body? Yeah, okay. Tina's like, yes. Okay, that was a confident hand. All of them. And there are so many things, right, that we are using to address our ailments, our pain, our discomfort, our perceived suffering, that unknowingly, a lot of it's really innocent because we're not taught these things. Society isn't telling us these things. And generationally, we're losing a lot of our innate knowledge. But so many of the things we're using to feel better are actually damaging the system more. So that's one of the abnormal circumstances. Another abnormal circumstance is our emotional well-being. How many of you in this beautiful, intelligent, I would say emotionally intelligent group, because I've met most of you, how many of you feel like you have healthfully expressed every emotion that has come to you throughout your life and that you had the right modeling to be able to do that? Anyone? None of us, right? Because society, little by little, again, like, no, but it's okay. How do you feel? I'm okay. We smile and we just, kind of keep going. And meanwhile, our frustration and our anger and our sadness and it is composting inside of us. And we know now unequivocally that this has a physiological effect on the body. And so the fact that, again, it's an innocent thing because our society has not done a great job at keeping the traditions that help us to understand emotion and also express emotion healthfully. But the long-term effects of that are more toxic overload on the body and very deficient digestive functioning. And the last abnormal circumstance is where we began, and that's toxic load. And hopefully this you don't take this image too much to heart, but this is like the garbage man went on holiday and forgot to come back or forgot to get someone to take his or her place. And so the stuff is building up. And this is how a lot of us are walking around with our toxic load because although we might be eating well, we might be trying to live well, if we don't take breaks and really pay attention to helping and assisting the body to clear periodically, little by little, the body accumulates toxins that it can no longer discard of. When the body has toxic buildup, one of the ways that it protects itself is to wrap toxic molecules in fat cells so that the toxin can't do harm to anything around it. And so a lot of the metabolic problems that we see are often also a result of toxic overload and digestive system disharmony, all because we just are not paying attention to giving the body a break and doing the things that we need to be doing to help it function better. And again, not to be so negative about today's world, and we have to be realistic about it as well. There are tens of thousands of chemicals being pumped into everyday products that we use. And again, a lot of us are doing things innocently, but your skincare, your shampoo, your toothpaste, I was about to say your toothbrush, maybe even your toothbrush, but your toothpaste, the lotion that you put on your skin, the clothing that you choose, so many things because of our consumeristic approach to life. There's a demand for production that only using synthetic and chemical things can rise to. And so not only are we having thousands of chemicals pumped into everyday items, but very few of them are studied. And the ones that are studied across the board are shown to be neurotoxins, so toxic to your nervous system, endocrine system disruptors, which means your hormones, right, having an effect on the way that your hormones are being produced and balanced in your body, the immune system, carcinogenic cancers, the liver and kidneys, because they're trying to filter all of this stuff. And then, of course, the digestive system. And so here we finally arrive to this big word, which is dysbiosis. And again, all of these topics we're going to take one by one. But for today, I just kind of wanted us to get into the playing field of the whys behind it all and what's going on for us so that we can hopefully feel really good and inspired to take on the challenge of this 30-day program. And so, what all of these three abnormal circumstances have in common, the nutritional deficiencies, the toxic overload, and also our emotional well being, is that they all contribute to something we call dysbiosis. We have a microbiome, a huge, beautiful, intricate, and diverse collection of microbes. Yes, in the gut, the most highly concentrated in the gut, so related to the digestive system, but actually everywhere throughout our bodies. And these microbes are doing functions every single day, every single minute to contribute to our well being. And a lot of these things that we innocently do, like maladjusted stress response, eating too much sugar, not paying attention to our sleep patterns, overworking, improper diet, all of these sort of abnormal circumstances, we know now without a doubt are creating disharmony in the gut microbiome and also the entirety of the body microbiome. And again, we go back to the intelligence of the holistic traditions, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine. We've always known about the important connections between the health of the gut and all of the things that you see here on the diagram. I'm not going to go over it because we're going to go over it when we're inside the vessel of the program. But modern science is also now kind of backing up this intelligence by being able to show these connections biologically and how they're happening on a cellular level. But ultimately, the state of your microbiome affects directly every single system in your body. So we get back to the importance of nutrition and digestion and the digestive health kind of at the root and foundation of all of it. Are we ready for some good news? It's like, whoa, this world is really hard to live in. And as yogis, it's so beautiful because when we step into our spiritual practice, when we step onto the mat, even your willingness to like, I want to just say like thank you to Oriane because it was your question, right, about what you're going through that stimulated this entire community to come together for this. So the next time you see her, everyone thank her because it was really like that little fire. She's like, "Wait, what? Huh? Wait, what?" And then, everybody was like, "Yes, okay, wonderful." And so we can come together as a community, which also makes it so much more interesting and so much more beautiful. So gratitude to you, Ryan, for like asking about your well-being, right? And bringing us all together in this way. But the good news is that again, you were born with a body that with the right elements and circumstances knows how to heal. Our body knows exactly what to do. We have the innate wisdom of nature and the cosmos inside of us. We don't have to look anywhere else. And just like a plant that you might be taking care of, right? If that plant isn't growing well, we don't sort of like put it in the closet and ignore it. We don't, try to like spray it or stunt its growth. No, we investigate like, oh, is the soil okay? Does it have the right nutrients? Does it have enough water? Does it have too little water, too much water? Does it have the right kind of light? Is it placed in the right position? Right? Our tendency with us is just like, oh, it's uncomfortable, it's inhibiting my life, just take the sensation away. But because we're nature, we should really treat ourselves exactly the way that we would our garden. And that's one of the things that we begin to cultivate a better relationship with. And it's possible because we are built with the wisdom to heal and to thrive and to feel really good. So I always love to remind us that your body is a superhero, right? It's miraculous. It's a superhero. Your liver is doing the job of detoxifying your body every single day, every minute of every day. You're not asking it to do it, it's just doing it. Your lungs are breathing, right? They're taking in the world from around you. They're allowing you to let go healthfully. So is your large intestine. We don't ask it to do it. And while it's doing all of this breathing stuff, it's continually purifying our body, right? The spleen, the kidneys, like your body is incredible. And so, whatever state you might be in with your relationship with your body right now, I'd love for you to just take 1 second in whatever way you can manage, depending on what you might be going through. I know sometimes it's harder than others, but to really like even put your hands on your body and be like, wow, thanks. Like, thank you for, like even for just still being here with all of the demands that we put on it. But ultimately, your body is a superhero. And so during this program, we just want to give it what it needs and deserves to come into a better state of harmony and health. And so enter the 30-day reset. The program is divided into 3 phases. Before I jump into the logistics, any questions so far? I feel like I talk pretty fast and I love to educate, so I know I give a lot of information as well. Are we good? Feeling good about where you are? Okay. So the program is divided into 3 phases. Phase 1 is 10 days, phase 2 is 10 days, and phase 3 is 10 days. During phase 1, what we're doing is activating and opening the detoxification pathways of your body. We can assume that most of us have a little bit of toxic overload. For every individual, it's going to be a little bit different because constitutionally, we are all different and our story is different, and where we are in this moment in time with our story is also different from one another. But what's the same is that we have the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, the skin that are all working to help us purify and stay clean continually and consistently. When we have toxic overload, the pathways tend to get congested. It's just like traffic on the freeway at rush hour, right? There's congestion, there's bottlenecking. And so, what we do in phase 1 is we go in and give direct support to the organs of detoxification and also begin to open those pathways to help with the release of any built up toxicity in the body. That prepares us, that sets the stage for phase 2, where we go in with another supplement, a different supplement to address the overgrowth of candida and parasitic influences. We're going to look at candida and inflammation and parasites really specifically in one of our Zooms. So, again, this is all just an overview so you have a better understanding of what we're doing. And then having detoxified the body, right? Help to relieve the body to the best extent that it's ready to do toxic influences, and going in deeper into the digestive system in phase 2 and doing a little bit more deep cleaning in phase 3. What that allows us to do is go in with a grouping of essential oils that are come in a capsule like a supplement that are going to help to clear the free radicals and the byproducts of the metabolism that's happening while we do the detoxing, and also a probiotic to begin to rebuild and replenish the microbiome in a healthy state. And probably you've, heard of the use of probiotics. Does anyone use a probiotic right now? Has anyone taken one as a supplement? But you've heard it's a very popular thing, right? Like, oh, you should take a probiotic for the microbiome. Is this something also popular in Switzerland right now? I feel like it's pretty global. And the mistake that a lot of people make is that if you have toxic buildup in your body, if you put the probiotic in to the system without cleaning first, it doesn't do as good of a job because it is obstructed by all of the toxic influences. And so that is why we structure this program exactly this way, so that we give support to the organs that we're going to ask to work harder. We open up the pathways for them to do their job really well. And then with that clearing and that cleaning and that resetting, we have the space and the opportunity to go in and start replenishing. But because remember, we said that the very foundation of any wellness program should be nutrition. What we do, oh, maybe I'm going to jump ahead for a second. I will go back to those other slides, but I want you to look at these three brown bottles on this slide, and we're going to come back to this in just a second. These three bottles, for those of you who got your box, did you open your box already? Did you unpack it? Was that exciting? And were you like, oh my God, there's so many bottles of supplements in here? Like, how is this going to work? Don't be overwhelmed. We're going to take it step by step, and I'm going to guide you all along the way. But these three bottles, they usually show up in their own little white box in your package. Are the Microplex VMZ is a very broad spectrum, whole foods based, bioavailable multivitamin. And so the foundation of what we're giving our body is exactly what it needs to function well. The omega supplement, some of you have the vegan, some of you have the normal, but the distribution of power is pretty much the same. So we also know that we need the presence of omegas to have a healthy inflammatory response for brain health, for circulatory system health, that we're not necessarily getting from our food sources anymore. And the Alpha CRX is a really beautiful supplement that's constructed of phytonutrients that are helping when our cells are responding to all of the things we're going to ask them to do, also there to assist us all along the way to make sure that none of the result of cellular metabolism gets stuck in the body, that it's also ushering all of the new activity out. So the very foundation of what we do, this set of supplements we take throughout the entirety of the cleanse. And that's because, and let me go back now, the foundational nutrition part is the most important. And of course, on top of that, to support it, we're going to do our best to eat a whole foods diet. I love to recommend that during the 30 days, if you are able to, and everyone has different circumstances, so you're absolutely free to ask me about your individual circumstances, in the group chat if you feel comfortable. But I really invite you to eliminate as many animal products as possible. I don't know if you had time to look at the ebook I sent you, but there are a couple of reasons for this. Mostly it's to do with sourcing. Now, listen, if you live next to a farmer and you're watching, the cow be born and raised, and I'm not here to tell you which strategy is right or which strategy is best for you. But the foundation of this whole experience revolves around one truth, and that is that everything in life is a relationship. Meaning, if we are giving our bodies supplements that are going inside of us and saying, hey, there's toxic buildup, I'm going to help you to get that toxic buildup out. But we continue to use personal care products that are full of toxins. There is a conflict, right? And so I don't know that we can 100% get rid of all the toxic influences around us for the 30 days, but the idea is to eliminate as many known inflammatory and toxic influences as possible. And because we know that meat can be okay, it can be a great source of protein, but it comes with some negative side effects. Plants can also provide us with protein. It's a different digestive and assimilation process, but there are no negative side effects from plant proteins, only positive side effects. So again, even just that negative, right, the saturated fats that come to us in animal products, the reason behind it is that the overall invitation is how many ways can we give the body a break? How many ways can we give our emotions a break during this 30 days? How many ways can we set ourselves up? And I know we have to keep interacting with the world. So again, we recognize that we're humans and that there are particular demands. And to the best of your ability, in as many categories as possible, I'd love to invite you to go as full in as you're ready to do. So, giving the system a toxin and inflammatory influence holiday means eliminating sugar. Does that mean fruit? No. You're welcome to eat fruit. It's a natural source of sugar. When I say sugar, I mean processed sugars. Looking at the loaf of bread that you buy at the store and making sure there aren't added sugars in the formula. So during the first phase, we're going to do a lot of little investigating of labels and looking around more intently to start learning, what are we really interacting with? Dairy, again, it really depends on who you are and what your lifestyle is and what you're willing to do. But a lot of our sourcing for dairy comes with some very toxic things. And so I'm going to say specifically industrial dairy. If you have a local farmer, if you have, other sources, we can talk about it. You can share, we can have a discussion about it. But to the best of your ability, I would highly recommend that you eliminate dairy. Also, because even in its cleanest forms, it is an inflammatory influence in the system. Wheat, not all grains are bad, but we know that a lot of our wheat products are processed and also genetically modified. So gluten isn't actually the enemy. It's how we have manipulated plants that contain gluten that have become the enemy. So if you can avoid wheat and processed flours throughout the 30 days, that would be wonderful. Processed foods, I'm guessing that you can understand why. Caffeine as well. We just had a little bit of a discussion about it. Alcohol, which is a neurotoxin. And you might be thinking, well, I've read that coffee has some health benefits. We're going to look at this as well in some of our Zooms, but I'm going to say that as an herbalist and as a doctor of a holistic tradition, everything in its right time, place, and dose can be beneficial. And I'm going to say everything natural, right? Coffee is a natural substance depending on how it's grown and making sure that it doesn't have mold on it, all of these different things. But we also know that for as many benefits as it might have in certain circumstances, it can cause nervous system dysregulation and it can put our system in fight or flight for an extended and sustained period of time, which can affect the microbiome and can affect our nervous system and can affect actually our mental well-being. And so, again, just navigating the conversation with the knowledge that everything is a relationship. And because the purpose of this program is to allow the body to kind of settle back into its best natural state in 30 days, we want to take away as many of the things that we know stimulate it unnaturally to the best of our ability. And the last thing under this first category is supplements. Also, something we're going to talk about a little bit more specifically throughout the course. But if you are taking supplements already, vitamins, over the counter things to help with allergies, anything, most of them are not natural and therefore are recognized in the body as toxic. If you have medically relevant medications that you are on, you're so welcome to send them to me. There is not any danger of any kind of interactions with the supplements and medications. But if you want to know more, right, just about it, you're very welcome also to send that information. But if you are taking other over-the-counter stuff, I'm going to ask you and invite you to please stop, because most of the things sold at the store, even vitamins, are synthetic. And so while they stimulate an action in the body, they're still recognized in the body as a toxin. And so we want to be really careful that we're giving the body exactly what we're choosing to give it, so that when we get the results of the experience, we know exactly why and what. If we start mixing supplements and something negative happens, we can't figure out what the origin of that is. And also, likewise, if something profoundly positive happens and we're mixing, right, different strategies during the 30 days, very difficult to know how to continue because difficult to know what it was that led to that positive result. So, eliminating as many of these things as you can, nourishing ourselves with whole foods. Really, the best way to do that is, did it come from the earth? Did it come directly from the earth? If the answer is yes, eat it. Nourish yourself. Eat 3 meals a day, eat 5 meals a day. I actually don't care. Eat throughout the entire day. The whole point is really to feel like foundationally nourished and avoiding all of the other things. And simultaneously, because although we are focusing initially on the physical, we know that we cannot disconnect our mind, our emotions, our spirit from the physical ever. Even if we feel like they're disconnected, they're never disconnected. There are other sort of invitations that I'll give you throughout the 30 days to support the effort that you're making, like reducing device use, paying attention to your sleep hygiene, your sleep patterning, getting some healthy movement, doing mindfulness exercises, spending time in nature. Tofu isn't necessary. Yeah, so that's a great question. Is tofu a processed food? So there is some processing that happens to create it. And I would just invite you to read labels really well. So let's say that tofu is a soy-based product that is like when we cook things, like when I cook a pan of broccoli, I'm processing the broccoli ultimately. So is tofu processed? The answer is yes, and you can find tofu that is clean, that doesn't have any preservatives, that doesn't have added sugars, absolutely fine. And I would advocate for incorporating tofu in if you are, right, one of those that's like, I really need a lot of protein in my day. And we'll talk about timing too, but that's a great question, and protein absolutely fine and wonderful. And hydration. And again, you'll get this. I want to be kind of mindful of time. We're almost there for the logistics, is making sure you're staying really hydrated. A couple of rules that we follow here is you're going to be putting your lemon essential oil in water. You don't have to do that throughout the day, but most people, when they start drinking the lemon essential oil, they really love it, and they love to kind of keep their reusable water bottle with them throughout the day to remember to sip on water. But you do want to hydrate yourself. And one of the reasons is that if you can imagine energy pathways in your body a little bit congested, or maybe you can imagine you go out on the patio of your house or the terrace of your house and it's really dusty. And you could take a broom, but then the dust is still kind of going everywhere and some of it's going to settle back in. But if you wash it off, it's going to become more clean. And that's to some extent the role that hydration plays in our body, is it helps things to move through the system in a more healthful way. So staying hydrated important. I really encourage you to stay at room temperature or warmer throughout the entirety of the program. Make sure that you're not putting your lemon essential oil or water in plastic containers, if possible, and best to not drink too much while you're eating, but rather before or in between, or even a little bit after. But taking too much water in while you're nourishing yourself can actually affect the digestive process as well. A couple of really truly practical things. I'm going to give you very clear instructions about what we're going to be taking when, as we get closer to the program. But in these 10 days before we start, choose a place where you can put your supplements where you will see them. This will help you to remember. So, in the first few days of the program, one of the biggest challenges is just getting in the ritual of taking them. We do take the supplements 3 times a day. I'll give you, of course, all of the clear instructions to do this. Some of you that might go to work or do other things, right? We come up with creative ways to make sure you have what you need throughout the day. But first thing in the morning, or whatever your morning routine is, think about where you're going to do not put them inside a drawer or a door. because it's very easy to forget. But if you see them, if you have them in a place where visually you're reminded, it's going to be much easier to create the ritual in the beginning. A really funny thing that I didn't learn until I was in medical school is that the pills themselves are lighter than water. So, our human tendency to kind of throw the head back when we're trying to swallow pills actually makes it harder because the pills will come to the surface of the water, not back where we want them to be. So, when you're taking the pills, and listen, guys, you do not have to swallow them all at once. You can take one at a time. You can take two at a time, right? You'll know what you need to take together. You do not have to swallow them all together. I made the mistake of not saying that in one group. And then I had someone be like, it's impossible to take them all at once. So you don't have to take them all at once. That like sometimes we just get in the success mindset and like, I want to do it right. And we put all sorts of weird expectations in our heads. But if you lean your head forward just a tiny bit, right? Not so much that the water is going to come out your nose, just a tiny bit, then the pills actually float on the water backwards. So when you swallow, they're the first to go down and the water does what it's meant to do. You can play around with it if you don't believe me, but really give it a try. And then what we'll strive to do throughout the day is to take the supplements before each meal. Good if you can time it about 20 minutes before eating. So you'll take your morning dose and then have breakfast, take your midday dose and then have lunch, take your evening dose and then have dinner. It is more important that you take the supplements throughout the day than it is the timing. So if you have any challenges with your work schedule, you forget and you start eating, any of these things, this is why we have the WhatsApp chat. So you can always ask questions throughout. But the most important thing is that we give the body all of this beautiful information through the vehicle of the supplements. And if you can, this is what we're striving to do, is to take them before meals. Please don't take your supplements and leave them on an empty stomach for too long. They are powerful. They are gentle, but also powerful information for your body. And if you leave them on an empty stomach, sometimes you will not feel so good. So make sure that you set yourself up for success in the way that's going to work for you and your life. And then I think that this last little bit here is maybe the most important thing. We'll talk more about it as we get closer. Do your best throughout the experience not to overanalyze what you feel or experience, but because you're all yogis, I know that I can say this and it's going to land in the right way. We're going to really enter with a mind of curiosity and wonder, and everything that we feel and sense and experience throughout the 30 days, we're going to observe. And at the end of the 30 days, then we can move into evaluation. But it's a process, and every phase for every person is going to feel a little bit different. And the whole thing is meant to be a complete process. So if something happens to you in phase two and you get into your head, like, well, why is this happening? And what does it mean? And do, like all this, you might still be in the middle of the process your body is trying to do. And by intently focusing on it, you stick the energy, right? You firm the energy in your body and you don't allow that process to really fulfill itself in its natural way. So we're going to do our best to withhold too much investigating and analyzing during the program. And then after, I will help you to do all of the analyzing that you might want to do from the experience. So just a quick look at the supplements. And again, we're going to go through these one by one with each phase. But foundationally, these 5 bottles on the left-hand side are going to be the foundation of the cleanse, meaning you take these supplements throughout the entire program. It's the foundational nutrition. The Zendocrine complex is an herbal complex that is supporting healthy detoxification in the body. So specifically supporting the lungs, the kidney, the skin, and the liver, the most important one, the liver, and the Terrazyme, which is a digestive enzyme. Most of us, again, because of food sourcing, things ripening on trucks, things being irradiated, even fruits and vegetables, in order to get to us, are being stripped of the enzymes that we need to be able to digest and assimilate our food well. And because most of us live in a state of dysbiosis, our gut microbiome is responsible for making most of the important enzymes that are helping our body to digest, break down food, and assimilate the nutrients in a healthy way. And so we have the Terrazyme with us the entire time to lower the activation energy of all of those processes and make it easier and more fulfilling for our body to receive all of the nurturing nutrients, nourishing, I got there the third time, nourishing that we're giving it. And the lemon essential oil as well. In phase one, we have another Zendocrine complex, which is an essential oil complex, and that is supporting that activation phase. In phase two, you see the foundation stays the same, and we add, instead of the Zendocrine soft gels, the GX Assist. This is targeting specifically Candida overgrowth and parasitic influences. And then in phase three, we go in with the DDR Prime, which is another essential oil supplement, and the PB Restore, which is replenishing in a really healthy and balanced way the entirety of the microbiome. And I know that I sent a couple of you an ebook about the supplements. And so I can provide those of you that want a closer look inside of these, and we can also answer questions. But again, here is our foundational nutrition trio. The lemon essential oil, which is supporting the detoxification efforts of the body, water retention. It helps to flush the kidneys and the lymph and the liver. It actually boosts glutathione production in the liver, which is exactly what we need to detoxify the body in a really healthful way. And citrus essential oils are nature's natural antidepressants. And so every time you put your lemon in your water, you get a little brightening and a widening of the eyes, remembering that we're doing all of this with joy and excitement. The Terrazyme, again, the digestive enzyme complex, and the Zendocrine detoxification complex, which is a combination of herbal medicines that are supporting the liver, the kidneys, the colon, the lungs, and the skin, all of our detoxification pathways. While we're focused on the detox pathways in phase one, as you can imagine, throughout the entirety of the process, your body is going to continue to get rid of toxic residue, which is why the Zendocrine is a really important part of the roadmap to the end. This is the last slide, and then I'll take questions. Again, I really would love to encourage you to enter this experience with mindfulness. So getting in touch with your why, going back to the welcome email that I sent you and using those invitations as a point of reference. And now that you have a little bit more information about what the program is going to look like and the whys and the understanding, hopefully with a little bit more comprehensiveness behind it all and what we're confronting as human beings right now, I'd also love for you to begin making your agreements with yourself, meaning if you're going 100% in, you can use these preparatory days to figure out, maybe you just stop coffee today if you're drinking coffee. If you're a black tea drinker, maybe you're like, I'm going to go through the, like the withdrawal process now instead of waiting for the beginning of the program. So really sit with the ideas that I've presented to you and make your agreements with yourself about what parts you're going to do, where you're going to give yourself leniency, if you're going to give yourself leniency. And then I'm going to invite you again and again throughout the whole process to be your word to yourself, whatever that's going to be. So make your agreements, think about how you want to approach this 100%, like 100% in, 110% in, 90% in, whatever that's going to be. All the answers are right as long as they come from your heart and from your own honesty, because you are the only one that can be your word to yourself. And that's going to be the most important part of the whole experience. Okay, we did it. Whole presentation. Questions, comments. Thank you. I think that's the first time I got applause for, for doing the preparatory webinar. That's really nice. Um, Questions, clarifications, comments. Do you feel like you signed up for the right thing? I'm hoping. Okay, great.
Yes, definitely.
Any questions, clarifications, other comments that will feel helpful?
Bon, moi, je
Thank you
pense
so
que vous
much,
avez
Molly.
commencé, puis que les questions
Yeah,
viendront
thank
comme ça.
you.
I just had a question because also I was not here at the essential oil workshop,
Yeah.
sadly. But is it also good, like for example, in the morning to have just like fresh lemon juice in the water, or what is like the difference between this oil and just the fresh lemon juice?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So the lemon essential oil is made from the peel of the citrus. All citrus oils are made from the peel. Now, while the fresh lemon might give you a little bit of vitamin C, it's also very acidic and damaging to the tissues when we're drinking
Mhm.
it regularly. And so the lemon essential oil brings all of the medicinal properties of lemon
Mhm.
without the damaging part. And
Okay.
so if you know, like if you really love and try, I don't know, you have 250 drops of lemon in your lemon essential oil bottle. So you could start putting a drop of lemon in filtered water right now to see how you like it. I know when I
Mhm.
travel to Nepal, for example, they do so much lemon and ginger tea and water, and I'm, drinking the lemon juice, but I start to feel the effects on the mucous membranes and right the enamel of the teeth. So the reasoning behind the oil is we want the power of the plant, but we don't want any of the negative side effects. And so
Okay.
I would say better to stick with the oil because you're
Yeah.
getting all the benefits. Um,
Okay. So you just put one drop in some water, right?
Yeah,
Like,
so I would suggest starting with one and see because the oils are powerful.
yeah.
I tend to, oh, I don't have it next to me. I have a clean canteen.
Mm-hmm.
I put sometimes 5 drops in if I'm not,
Okay.
if I'm not being careful, but start with one and then you can increase, but in a like small glass of water, room
Okay,
temperature.
perfect.
Start with one,
Great.
you can do two at a time, no problem.
And I just have one more question, then I leave
Yeah.
the voice to the others.
Yeah.
Do you consider the honey and agave syrup also like sugar and to not to eat or?
Yeah, another great question. So honey and agave are okay during phase one. If you feel
Mhm.
like you would like to have, sweetness, or maybe you're putting it over your granola in the morning, I don't know.
Mhm.
It's okay in limited amounts, but during the second phase, we're going to do our best to eliminate even natural sugars because candida and parasites feed off of sugar, even natural sugars. And so
Mhm.
during that phase, when we're going in specifically targeting those things in the body, I will invite you to take those natural sugars away as well. But in phase one and also in phase three, if you want to have a little of those natural sweeteners, perfectly fine.
Okay.
Molly, does that include fruits for second phase? No.
So fresh fruit is okay in the second phase. If it's local and seasonal, even better. But what I will suggest is that if you take fresh fruit in phase two, that you always pair it with either a fat or a protein. So like a handful of nuts, for example, or to mix it in, to not be taking the fruit by itself, because that still is a big dose of sugar for the body. What I will invite you to avoid as far as fruit in phase two is dried fruit because it's much
Yeah.
more concentrated sugar. So fresh fruit, okay in phase two, but just make sure that it's partnered with something so that that glycemic level isn't so significant. And I will just invite you to stay away from the dried fruits in phase two.
Okay.
Perfect.
Hmm? Yeah. Other questions? Wonderful questions. Great. Other comments. And so each week, you will have received, right, the schedule of the Zooms. I will record everything, but when you can be on live, it's so wonderful just because then we can interact and you can ask questions. And we can feel connected also kind of once a week. We'll be diving into these different subjects, both scientifically, kind of from the Western, more modern mentality to understand the systems, but then also from the holistic standpoint. And I'll be bringing in some traditional Chinese medicine, some mindset stuff, sort of learning with a little bit more depth how the emotions and the aspects of our spirit are integrated into the organs through the lens of traditional Chinese medicine. So we can do the work physically, but also gain an understanding of how that does impact all of these other beautiful layers of our experience as a human. Okay. Anything else before we sign off?
Maybe a tiny question.
Yeah.
It was all very clear, so thanks for that. It was amazing.
Oh, good.
I
Thank you.
I think I'm all set regarding like skincare and everything because I use mostly, well, only natural things, but I struggle with shampoo. So
Yeah.
if you have any good brands that are not nasty and full of chemicals, I'll be interested to know.
Okay. Yeah, and these are great things, Eva, too, that we can also share in the chat.
Yeah.
I have, I think, 2 or 3 other people from my community who are going to join the group. If you agree, we can just continue to chat in the group that I've already set up for us,
Yes.
and then I
Perfect.
will add the others in once they finalize their registration. And so that's a great place too to share things like this.
Share
And
this.
I'll be
Okay.
sharing
Yeah.
them and giving you resources like the Environmental Working Group. The Skin Deep database is a wonderful place to look things up and see what's really going on. But we will
Yeah.
also share these resources and information along the way.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, and then just the couple of days prior to when we start, I think if I understood correctly, some of you have a wedding next weekend.
Mhm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who's getting married? Or
No, Iselin and I, we have to go to